Okay, so this is my second video, and today my topic is it's going to be a little bit, I don't know, not controversial. Just I'm going to catch a little flack for a few of the things I'm going to say today. So, if you want to see Eric Gustin go down in flames, then by all means check out the comments on this one. Today, my topic is smoking. I am a smoker, unfortunately. I wish I could not be a smoker. I wish smoking didn't exist at all. It's horrible for you. We can all agree that it's not good for you. Even the naysayers that say, oh, it's never been linked to cancer, doesn't matter. It's kind of common sense. You're inhaling burning plant matter and hundreds of other chemicals that tobacco companies have put in there directly into your lungs. Even if it didn't cause cancer, it cannot be good for you, okay? So let's get that right out of the way. It's horrible for you. It's terrible. Even chewing tobacco is just awful. It's bad. We get it, okay? That being said, there are a lot of rules in play with tobacco and smoking in general that I don't agree with. And here's a few of them. I'm going to rattle off 3 or 4 of them, and then I'll get into descriptions on each. The first one is that secondhand smoke is worse for you than smoking itself. Okay, that's a term we've heard for a long time, for decades. That is not true. We'll come back to that in a second. Second thing I have a problem with is the monstrous state tax that is being associated with cigarettes and tobacco products. We'll get back to that one as well. The third one would be the law against smoking in bars or public establishments where they're, not public, privately owned establishments where you're not allowed to smoke by a state law. That is wrong. And the fourth one would be the no smoking in your car when you have the kids in the car. That is a big no-no in my opinion. But we'll get into the descriptions of all of those. Let's start with the first one. I can't even remember what the first one was now. Secondhand smoke is worse for you than smoking. It's bullshit. Secondhand smoke is not good for you. We can agree on that. But being worse for you than actually smoking is a completely ridiculous and gross misinterpretation of the science that made that term a household term. Basically, what it boils down to is when they were doing the lab tests on cigarettes, and they did several of them, and they still do them today, they basically have a machine sucking on a cigarette in a little enclosed cage, and they measure the smoke and the nicotine and carcinogens and all that kind of stuff that comes out of the cigarette outside of the cage, and then they measure all the stuff inside of the cage. Well, all the stuff inside of the cage is much more toxic, for sure, no doubt about it. There's your science. Here's where the misinterpretation comes. Secondhand smoke would have to be directly pushed into your lungs via literally you inhaling and me exhaling directly into your mouth, and you'd have to be getting the smoke off of the end of the cigarette all into your mouth. That's worse for you than smoking, clearly. Now, does that happen? No. It's never happened. Ever. In the history of mankind, it's never happened. It can't happen. What happens with a regular cigarette is, I will demonstrate. I take a drag. This whole room is filled with oxygen. Now, all this smoke is much worse than the smoke I just inhaled because my lungs have pulled all the oxygen out of it. So now it's much stronger. The difference is, though, is that there's all this oxygen in this room that it's being dispersed into. Now, this is not saying that secondhand smoke is perfectly okay. Blow in your baby's face, you're fine. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the hype associated with that term is completely unfounded and grossly misconstrued. So that being said, secondhand smoke is not worse for you. It's still not good for you. I wouldn't ever say that, but it's not worse than actual smoking. If that was the case, everybody around me would be dead and I would be fine. So let's move on to the next one. I forgot the order that I placed these in, but regardless, we'll touch on all of them. Smoking, let's go to the one related to that. Smoking in your car with the kids in the car. Not a good idea, okay? But I'm a smoker, and I got kids, and if we're driving for a little while, I'm smoking, okay? And I know there's a big law against it, and you get fined, whatever it is, a couple, $300 or something, I don't know. But the thing I don't like about it, I do agree that you shouldn't probably smoke in your car with your kids. I totally agree with that. But I still do it from time to time. And here's why. The same reasons that I just mentioned before. First of all, myself being a smoker, I've never seen anybody just smoking all the time with their windows all rolled up. It doesn't happen. Even in the middle of winter, freezing out, I'll turn the heater up a little higher and roll my window down a crack. And here's what happens. For the non-smokers, you don't know this, but for a smoker, you know this. You might smell it in the car, but the smoke is being sucked out the window. I'm not trying to recommend people smoke in their car. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that it's a bullshit law that really is not about the safety of your children. It's never been about that. It's about money. It's the only time they can bust you for something like that. Because anybody that smokes in their car definitely smokes in their house with their kids. And if they're smoking in their house with their kids, they're smoking around their kids in an enclosed room with no windows open for long periods of time. So to say that we're going to bust you for the 15 minutes a day that you're in a car with your kids is just ridiculous. It's, I don't know the right word to put with it. It's very hypocritical to say that we care, because they don't care. They care about money coming in their pockets. That's the plain and simple truth of it. Maybe they use sometimes, I think, the government or state governments and local officials, they'll use those terms to make themselves sleep a little better at night, make themselves feel like they're doing something good. And maybe in some small respect they are, and maybe some of them even truly believe that that's the case, that we're really helping. But those people are just stupid, and they're blind to the fact that it's really just a money-making scam that's out there to make money for the state or for the town. Now, the third one kind of goes hand in hand with that, is the big state tax. The state tax is fucked. We got probably $3 in tax associated with cigarettes now. I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on it, but it's a very high tax. And it's the highest of anything that we buy. Ridiculous, huge amount of tax. Now, the number one thing they always say is that we want to overtax this stuff and really make the price of it high. And why do they want to make the price of it high? The number one reason always associated with it is that we want to discourage use. We want to discourage the people from smoking. Let's discourage it. Well, if you really wanted to discourage it, you would probably just outlaw it. Just make it illegal. Like you've done with so many other things that are much less harmful or not harmful at all. But that being said, the idea that you're going to discourage use, you're talking about a very addictive substance. So all you do is you make people spend more money, and all that results in that is you make more money. The state makes more money. Now, I would be all for that if that money that's associated with cigarette taxation or tobacco taxation were to go to methods to get people to stop smoking and stop chewing tobacco. That would make perfect sense to me. I still wouldn't really agree with it, but it would be more palpable to me. I could deal with that. It would make sense. But this makes no sense. You're just making money off us because we're hooked. That's another thing. That's thing number 5. These fucking things go out every 2 drags now because all of a sudden somebody decided, hey, let's add another 10 chemicals to the 600 chemicals we already have in there. And no problem at all. no oversight. We'll just throw these chemicals in and make them go out. Fire safety cigarettes. Very, very few fires are ever started by cigarettes. Okay, that's a known fact. They always say, "Oh, it's the guy who fell asleep with a cigarette." It happens, but a lot less than you would think. A lot more fires start from crazy other reasons, bad wiring or whatever else. Very few fires ever start from somebody falling asleep with a cigarette. The main reason is you fall asleep with a cigarette, it's going to burn your finger. Now they'll not burn your finger, they'll go out, but it doesn't really do anything. It just makes you have to like the goddamn thing more. So the last one, the state tax is bullshit. To recap, they know we're hooked, and they know no matter what, the tobacco companies themselves will put out, they spend billions a year in anti-smoking ads and ways for you to quit smoking. And that doesn't seem very smart for a company who wants to sell cigarettes, but it really is smart because it's good PR for them, for one, and they know you're hooked. They know what they put in them. They know that nicotine itself is pretty addictive, and then the other 500 or 600 chemicals they put into it are more addictive than that. And now they've got this fucking thing perfected, man. This is addictive. I would say it's quantifiable to morphine or anything else like that as far as addictive levels, as far as the need to have it again. It's the only thing I've ever been addicted to, and I've tried everything. It's not something I'm hugely proud of, but I've tried virtually every drug you can think of, and this is the only one that I've ever had a need for. Like, I wanted it again and I can't stop smoking. But in any case, on to the last one, the bars and privately owned businesses, predominantly the bars. The bars used to be all smoking. Now they are no smoking at all. There was just all of a sudden, wham, there was a law. You can't smoke in any bars. Now, we already had all the stores in the state and a lot of restaurants had jumped on that bandwagon. There was never a law. It was just the stores decided and restaurants decided, we don't want people smoking in here, and that's just that. And that's totally up to them. If they want to lose the non-smokers business, for instance, if Burger King still allowed you to smoke and McDonald's didn't, well, if I was going in for a sit-down meal, if I'm a smoker, I might go into Burger King. And if I'm a non-smoker, I might go to McDonald's. That's just the way it is, you know. And or sometimes it might not even make a difference. I might just go to McDonald's because I like the food better, and it's worth it to me to wait to have a cigarette. But regardless, it should be up to the private business owner, especially when it comes to bars. When you factor in bars, we're talking about well over a 50% margin of people that frequent bars frequently. When they go to bars frequently, the bar crowd, there's well over 50% of them that smoke. Then all of a sudden there was a law that came out that said you can't, and to me it just seemed that they were treating, this really has nothing to do with smoking itself. This has to do with the ridiculous laws that are put in place that govern what people are allowed to do with their own establishment. That was just awful of the state to do. It should be up to the people what they want to do. If I'm a business owner and I own a bar and I want to have it be smoking, then that should be up to me to potentially lose the non-smoker's business to a non-smoking establishment down the road. That should be completely my discretion. And to people who are non-smokers who don't want to go to the bar because it's full of smoke, then don't go to that bar. Go to another bar that doesn't allow smoking. It's very simple. You would basically segregate the two, problem solved. And if really the only people, I don't have a problem being a smoker going into a place that's non-smoking, but if I want a cigarette bad enough, I'll go to the place that is smoking. It's just as simple as that. So those are my views on, I'm almost to my 15 minutes here. Those are my views on all the smoking stuff. If you like it, comment. If you don't, comment anyway. I'd love to hear anybody's feedback. I want to know what you think of America. Dial it in. All right. See you guys. Bye.